Good morning. Today is Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. There's a town in England called High Wycombe. It's near London. And every May, they have an annual event. It's an annual weigh-in. And it's been taking place since 1678. And what they do is, every May, the mayor and the other town officials are brought to the middle of the town square and put on a scale. And there's an official that weighs them. And if the weight of the official is greater than it was the year before, then everyone yells out, "And some more." And at least in the olden days, people would throw rotten fruit at them. And if the weight was less than last year, the crowd yells out, "And no more," and cheers. And it started in 1678 when the residents of the town were irate over their mayor, who was a drunk, and they stripped him of his authority, and they wanted to hold their officials accountable for their behavior in office. It's a good thing I don't live in this town, because this year I would get the rotten fruit. But it's COVID, When I first read about this a couple of years ago, I immediately thought about our Parsha. Now, this week's Parsha is the double portion of Vayakel and Pekudei, but I was thinking about the second half, which is the Parsha of Pekudei, which we read this Shabbos. Now, in last week's Parsha, in the Parsha of Kisisa, the Torah says, "V'haya ketzeis Moshe el ha'ohel," and it was when Moshe would walk to his tent, "Yakumu kol ha'am," everyone would stand, people would line the pathway as he was walking, and everyone would stand out of respect. V'nitzvu ish pesach olo, and everyone would be standing in front of their own tent, lining the route. V'bitu acharei Moshe ad bo ha'ola, and they would all watch with reverence as Moshe would make his way to his tent. Can you imagine what it must have been like to be able to see with your own eyes Moshe Rabbeinu walking by? And can you imagine the reverence, the respect, the awe that people had, that they were so close? He was passing just in front of them, the man who spoke to God. It must have been an amazing, amazing experience. The Medrash on that pasuk says as follows: Shama leitzane hadir. One more time. Shama leitzane hadar. Shayamasichan acharav. Moshe heard. Moshe's walking by, and mostly people are standing, silent, respect, awe, reverence. But he hears a few people in the crowd. Leitzane hador, a letz. What is a letz? A letz is somebody who, when everyone else is standing respectfully at a solemn moment, they make a joke. They start talking. That's a letz. A letz is someone who makes inappropriate comments at inappropriate times. A letz is someone who is a cynic, a scoffer. So while Moshe was walking along with this reverent crowd gazing at him, he heard from within the crowd a couple of leitzanim, a couple of these jokers. One of them said to the other, talking about Moshe, he's put on a little weight. And the other one said, well, with all the donations of gold and silver and copper and the other materials that are being donated to build the Mishkan, the sanctuary, he's certainly skimmed a little bit off the top. And he has become wealthy. And that's why he looks so prosperous and a little heavier than usual, because he's been skimming a little off the top. So the Medrash continues, Kishashama Moshe Kach, when Moshe heard these Leitzanim saying these terrible things, Amar Le, he said to them out loud, he said to everyone publicly, Nigmar HaMishkan, as soon as the Mishkan is completed, as soon as the construction is done and everything is put together, Etein L'cha Cheshbon, I'm going to give you an accounting. And that is the reason that the second half of our Parsha begins, Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan Ho'edus. This is the accounting of the Mishkan, the sanctuary of testimony, Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe, which this accounting was done at the instruction of Moshe, Avodas Halavim Biyad Isamar ben Aaron HaKohen, done by the Levites, led by Isamar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, a complete accounting. And in the Parsha Pekudei, which is the last Parsha of Shemos, we have this full accounting. How much gold, how much silver, how much copper, the exact amounts to the shekel. The exact amounts are given. So in other words, we have this Parsha Pekudei for Moshe fulfilling his promise that he would give a full and transparent accounting as soon as the work was finished. There are two very important practical lessons that come from this medrash. The first is, no matter how good you are, no matter how right you are, if you are doing something in public, there will always be a letz to criticize. That's just a fact of human nature. The one accusation that is literally ludicrous when leveled against Moshe is dishonesty, because God himself says, B'chol beisi ne'emanhu, he is trusted in my entire house. God himself testifies to Moshe's honesty. So again, by definition, literally, the charge that Moshe has been dishonest is the most ludicrous accusation that is possible. Now, that doesn't mean that anyone who criticizes you is a letz. Whenever we are criticized, even by a letz, we should consider what is being said. We should rethink our position. Maybe there is something to learn. Maybe there is something to correct, and we should be willing to do so, even if the criticism has been leveled in an inappropriate fashion, in an inappropriate way, in a disrespectful way, in a destructive way. Still, if there is something positive to take from it, we should take that. But the point is, being right does not insulate you from the criticism of a letz. Now, it is wrong of that person to do it. It's an aveira, it's a sin. Those people speaking negatively about Moshe sinned. They were wrong. They were coarse, immoral people. That's true. But if you're doing something in public, you should expect that a let's will find something to criticize, and you should not get frustrated by it. It is simply a fact of life. That's lesson number 1. I wish I had learned this lesson 38 years ago at the beginning of my career. Okay, lesson number 2. And this is a point that is made by Dr. Meir Tamari. Pay attention to how Moshe does not respond to these scurrilous, unfair, untrue criticisms of him. He does not respond, "How dare you? I am Moshe Rabbeinu. God said about me, B'chol Beisi Ne'eman, I'm the most trustworthy of all men." God didn't say that about you. God said that about me. Rather, that is not the way Moshe responds. Rather, he ignores the motivation of the criticism. He ignores the tone of the criticism, and he responds to its substance. Eile Pekudei HaMishkan. I will give you a full accounting. You have a right to a full and transparent accounting. Because I could have made a mistake. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, it is possible that I made a mistake. No one is so perfect that they are unable to make a mistake. And therefore, Moshe says it's necessary to do a transparent audit, and here it is. Eile Pekudei HaMishkan. Here, check the facts, check the numbers. The Medrash Tanchuma points out, notice the words of the beginning of this part of the Parsha. The Torah does not say, Eile Pekudei HaMishkan, this is the accounting of the Mishkan Asher Pokad Moshe, that Moshe accounted for. Moshe did not do the audit. Rather, it says, Asher Pukad al pi Moshe, the audit that was done at Moshe's instruction. Someone else did the audit. It was an outside audit. It was an independent audit. Moshe teaches us the importance not just of avoiding impropriety, but the importance of avoiding even the appearance of impropriety. And my friends, let's be honest. If it was true for Moshe, where after all God did actually say, B'chol Beisi Ne'eman, he is the most trustworthy of all people, how much more so for us? If we work on any public task, it is crucial that we act in order to engender the trust of others. And that means to respond even to unfair criticism with substantive, independent response. To make sure you convey that you realize that you could have made a mistake. And you are disclosing the important information to support your actions, but you are doing so in a transparent and independent manner. And please keep in mind, when I say leading a public task, of course I'm referring to the leader of a community, the leader of a company, the leader of a synagogue or a shul or Jewish organization, a leader within politics. But a public task is also among your family and among your friends. All of those positions are public tasks that require both of these lessons to be learned. Unfair criticism, unjust accusations can cause much pain and damage, and we should be very, very careful never to engage in that. But at the same time, it is not possible to avoid it. It is a fact of human nature. No matter how good you are, it will happen. The only thing that you can control is your response. And for that, Moshe is the best model for us to follow. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.